Wrestling Sheet Radio. I'm your host, ProWrestlingSheet.com, Editor-in-Chief Ryan Satin. I'm here with my co-hosts, Jamie Iovine.
Hey, everyone.
And Elijah Bates.
Good day to you, sirs and madams, ma'ams.
I'm sorry about last week, everyone. I was very sick. I had a fever. I'm sorry we didn't do the show. To be honest with you, I think we were talking in the group text, and it would have just been such a negative show anyways.
Well, then I'm going to go ahead and apologize for just from the top that, I'm not going to be at my best today because I was up until like 5 last night, celebrating, or, I guess this morning, celebrating my favorite night of the year. So bear with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it my best shot.
Oh, God. Oh, God. This is going to be interesting.
I'm ready for Crown Jewel. Wait, is the show coming out after Crown Jewel?
You know what's...
during.
As you guys were, preparing to come over here, I was thinking to myself, shit, man, we're going to talk about Crown Jewel for an hour because that's really the most stuff that happened this week. And I thought to myself, shit, this is going to come out. And by the time it comes out, the event will already happen and make most of this conversation sort of irrelevant.
Maybe we should just move forward with the show as if it has happened, and we'll just go forward with who we think is going to win as if they actually did, and just make up what happens and see how accurate we actually can guess it.
Wait, Jamie, can you move your foot for a second, Jamie? Thank you, sir. Sorry, you were just on top of my mic or my headphone thing. It was pulling me down. I don't think we should do that, Eli, because I don't think...
We can do it 100% accurately?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be accurate enough.
Okay.
Because, this is shaping up to be a night where anything can truly happen.
Is it?
I truly think so.
Like what?
I don't know. Just I'm not saying anything revolutionary. I'm just saying stuff that we.
All right. One thing.
No, I'm not expecting not when I say anything can happen. Hulk Hogan being the host, not just being there, the host. You thought maybe he would come out and raise, like you just said, your prediction with Bobby Lashley, not in a capacity where he's gonna be throughout the night,
a running thread throughout the show.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny. So for those of you who didn't see what Jamie was talking about, we reported on the site this week that Hulk Hogan is gonna be at Crown Jewel tomorrow officially. He's going to be the host of the event, similar to New Day at WrestleMania or other hosts they've had in the past.
Or when he
The
has
Rock
hosted WrestleMania in the past.
Did Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan hosted.
Oh,
remember he bungled the Superdome with the Silver
of course.
Dome?
Yeah, of course.
And it was the whole joke between him and The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes,
at the intro.
Of course, yes.
Of WrestleMania 30.
I do remember, yes.
Taking place from New Orleans.
Yes. That WrestleMania always bums me out because I didn't go to it, and I should have, and it ended up being one of the coolest WrestleManias.
Yeah, it was actually a really good WrestleMania. I rewatched it recently. It's a surprisingly good match on the WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. I guess it shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, I thought it was good at the time.
But it was a great match.
Yeah.
I liked it at the time. I remember I liked it at the time.
Yes.
I was there. It was a good energy.
Is that when you were working there still or no?
No.
That was after you were working, or before?
No, before.
Right before.
Right
Yeah.
Mm.
So Hogan's going to be at the event, and the way it all came to be public information was super weird. Super weird in my opinion. So it all started when the events page for Crown Jewel, where in the area where it lists featured superstars of the event, it just quietly added Hulk Hogan to it. And if you looked, it was very bottom, you had to push see more multiple times. It wasn't easily found, and so when people noticed that, especially coupled with the fact that Hulk Hogan said a week prior that he was looking forward to going to Saudi Arabia, it was so they're secretly advertising Hulk Hogan's going to be at the show. So then, a bunch of sites did the story, Hulk Hogan's quietly being advertised for Crown Jewel. And I was telling Vinny here in the office, who works for Collider, I was telling him, hey, dude, I was kind of keeping him updated about it. I was showing him the events page, and that's when I noticed Hulk Hogan wasn't on there anymore. So I reached out to WWE, and they got back to me to confirm that Hulk Hogan will be at the event. He's going to be the host. But for those of you who don't watch the recap shows, I recommend you do, because at least this last episode, because you will see my genuine reaction to getting a news story. That doesn't happen very often, where you actually see the look on my face when I get a surprising news story. Yeah. And the clip is so funny because I'm looking at my phone casually, and then I just have the most bonkers what look on my face. And what do you guys think about it? I've already talked about it with Roka a little bit, but I want to know what you guys think about Hulk Hogan being the event, especially because I know you two, and you're both excited about it. And I don't think you want to say that on the show, but you guys are excited for Hulk Hogan coming back. You were taunting me in the fucking group chat, Eli, much more than Jamie was.
No, it wasn't. Jamie was taunting you more than I was.
You were like, they're gonna eat. You guys are gonna eat crow. Hulk's back. All that kind of stuff.
I mean, if you really want to really rack up what we said, all I did was just type out phonetically the opening riff to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You were much more.
Well, I heard the theme song in my head, and naturally I got excited because that's what I've been predisposed to do anytime I hear Real American play. Okay,
it's you know what's funny that you say that, because that is gonna be a weird feeling for me as a wrestling fan tomorrow, hearing
that theme song.
That theme song is that you're right. That theme song, we have been trained to be pumped when that theme song hits. Like it's like when you hear the glass shattering, you know? It's the same thing, you know? So it's gonna be weird to see the reaction, and it's gonna be, you know, obviously.
Just also, I mean, can't ignore the whole. I don't even know what that is. I was gonna say irony, but I don't even know if that's irony. Like the whole blaring of Real American in a Saudi Arabian arena.
Do you think that they'll do that, or do you think they'll have them come out with like the NWO theme instead, potentially, or Voodoo Child?
Is American Made less
Any
problematic
song, I would
than
suggest
Real
that-
American?
I think
Not
that
really.
they're-
I think it's kind of the same point.
Well, you know, to be fair, I would actually say that American Made maybe has a higher level of appreciation in other countries because maybe they get American-made products and they like American-made products.
That's why I said that.
I'm looking at it in a strictly literal sense of the term. You know, maybe they really like Ford trucks, which are made in America. I think they're still made in America. Actually, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Well, if you want to ask about what you would think about it, business-wise, logic-wise, it makes sense. If you want to bring Hogan back onto TV and test the waters, this is the safest place to do it.
Yeah.
He's not going to get booed. You know, I think the Saudi Arabian audience is going to be generally hyped to see Hulk Hogan because when's the last time he's been there? And it's a great way to test the parameter. They're going to judge. They're going to look at the socials, see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, and but again, it is just adding on to this whole, you know, Hulk Hogan put into exile over this whole controversial issue of when he was in a sex tape and said the racial slurs.
Yeah.
And his first thing back is this event that is just marred in controversy.
Yeah.
It makes one think, you know.
Maybe they were just trying to dump all the controversial stuff into one event. They're just like, look, there's no women. I know this whole Saudi murder thing is going on at the Turkey consulate. Let's just throw Hulk Hogan in there. We already got enough bad things going on.
I think it's more, but it's less WWE's call here and more the call of the Mohammed bin Salman, who clearly, from everything that you've heard now, wanted Hulk Hogan at greatest Royal Rumble. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we've got to do a few things before we can do that. And then they went and they did all these things, including having him apologize to everyone and stuff, just to appease Mohammed bin Salman, it feels like.
Yes. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm conflicted about it. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm just like, he's back and I'm forgetting everything.
He's saying that because we're recording now.
Yes, partially. But you have to understand, I literally grew up to Hulk Hogan. Like, I mean, I've been watching wrestling my entire life. So, like, when I started, you know, like, late 80s is, like, kind of when I bumped in there. Hulk Hogan was the top dog, and he was top brass for so long. And not only that, the Real American theme song is, like, a song that's it's been echoed in my mind for forever. So, like, to some extent, there are aspects of it that I'm really looking forward to. I am looking forward to seeing him come to the ring. I love Hulk Hogan's intro. Like,
Has all been forgiven in your eyes? And obviously, you're not a minority, so it's he needs your forgiveness.
Yes, you're right. I'm not on the line in terms of forgiveness and everything like that. Any forgiveness I gave is a moot point compared to people who were offended, people who he hurt through his words, his terminology, things like that. Selfishly, I am looking forward to it. You know, like, I mean, I've been talking to you guys this week about HBK on that same level. There's certain things that I grew up with. I'm looking forward to him because I haven't seen him for a long time, and I'm probably not going to get to see him that much longer, too. So, like, there's part of me that is looking forward to it. The situation sucks.
Yeah.
I don't want to paint it as anything other than that.
Of course.
It sucks.
But I do know what you're saying because I mean, it's hard. It's a weird thing to say, but, like, yeah, I mean, you weren't as hurt by the situation because he wasn't directly insulting you, so
Yes.
it's easier for you to feel that way, you know. And so it does, and that's what kind of makes the whole situation so frustrating is that like it pits fans against each other of like in a certain way.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you watch, and I don't know how big of a fan you were of the show, but I'm a big fan of Seinfeld. When I go back and I watch Seinfeld now, I don't think necessarily when Kramer comes on the screen about the racial epithets that he let out at the Laugh Factory back in 2006.
It's a very fair comparison.
No, it is a very fair comparison.
And-
if anything, Michael Richards was worse.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
It was actually worse.
Yeah.
Well, the only difference is that Michael Richards wasn't looked at as like a hero to people. It was like the dorky dude from Seinfeld.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but at the same time, yes, no, Michael Richards was worse what he did.
So I was thinking about
And
that
in
earlier today
public.
because I've been rewatching Seinfeld, and I still love Seinfeld the same way. It's not like I think about it, I'm like, no, I can't watch it because of what Michael Richards said at the Laugh Factory. And you're right. Like,
You know what the difference is for me?
Sure.
Is there honestly, if all that had happened with Hulk, and there was one sentence he hadn't said, there's just one sentence that he said in that whole rant that has just been hard for me to shake.
Yeah.
And that is him saying we're all racist to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because to me, that statement doesn't sound like someone trying to get in the pants of someone else.
Yeah.
That sounds like someone who is had a few drinks and is telling his real self.
Well,
and who's hidden his real self
Yeah.
from the world for a long time. And I get that also. I know, fuck man, like I had so many friends in high school and stuff that like I have friends now that are secretly don't look at minorities in the same light as white
Yeah.
people, and that I don't even realize it until like I don't know until they're drunk and like
Yeah.
they'll say something and I'm thinking in my head like, whoa, that
Yeah.
was a fucking
You know,
crazy
like-
thing
like
to say.
But at the same time, if I may,
Yeah, sure.
I see what you're saying, and there could be certain grains of truth to that. But I also don't see the way Hogan responds to the way that I don't think Hogan responds to answers the same way, especially when he's put on the spot that I do or you do.
Yeah.
I really think that Hogan is someone who thinks on his feet. A lot of times it has worked in his benefit. Sometimes it has put his foot in his mouth.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's just one of the reasons why he's one of the best entertainers in the world.
Yeah.
Because he could just say things. You know, but again, when he said something like that, we're all racist to an extent. I don't even really think he understood what he was saying when he said that. To be honest with you,
do you know, like I agree with that actually. I agree with it on the level that I think a lot of times, and I only say this because I've had many cocktails in my life. I've been inebriated many times,
and Hogan was not in a. I mean, this is by no means justifying what he said whatsoever. Please, but I am saying why maybe it was so eager to come out of his mouth was because he was under the influence of quite a few things.
Sure, and I think that it and again, what he said was horrible. Like
it was absolutely terrible.
I've looked at like kind of that, and even hearing you say that because that was like the conclusion of what they were talking about right there. And sometimes again, I'm not excusing it, but when I've been drunk, I've said stupid things just to conclude a conversation to get the hell away from it too. I'm not saying that he was trying to do that. I don't know how much. I don't know. I'm not him.
Yeah,
I don't know how much personal truth was in that or what was coming out. It still came out nonetheless, and that's what he's had to deal with, and that's what he should deal with.
And it was a really boneheaded thing to do. It really was.
That having been said, in terms of the Saudi government or whomever is putting the show on, I would suggest that that's probably not that they are not really looking at those racial epithets.
Not at all.
Like other countries. And cultures that have...
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
But I don't think you at your most drunk, or even not your most drunk,
Yeah,
your most middle drunk,
I do agree
when
with
you
that.
hold on,
Yeah.
I know
to
where
get
you're
out of a
getting at.
conversation said I'm racist to a point, effing N-words.
No.
I don't think you said that. when
No.
you're drunk. And to me, that's not something that is just said by someone who's never said
Okay.
that.
I agree with that.
That's all.
Yeah. Oops, I broke this pen.
To me, at least.
I broke this pen.
I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous with this conversation. No,
It's a tough one. It really is, because the worst thing in the fucking world, and I believe this to the deepest of my heart, is when you find out your heroes, your parents, your elders are fallible. And that happened with Hulk Hogan. And we grew up on Hulk Hogan, and we are trying to, and human nature, we are trying to find every grain of good there could be in this. And there may be some, you know, but, and I also do believe that, I do believe people come around. You know, there was a period of time where, you know, I thought Paige was going to be, you know, I thought she was a lost cause, you know, when she was with Del Rio.
Wait, you don't drive a Honda, right?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But and when it was a lost cause, and I thought, you know, who knows where she's going to end up. And fast forward, and you know, I'm having drinks with her on her birthday. You know, like I never thought that would happen, and
I didn't either, to be honest with you.
And Hulk Hogan is not is a completely different case.
Yeah,
but I do believe that. Do I think he hates African Americans? No. Do I think he has warped views of them based off of some sort of upbringing in the South, in Florida, where he was prominently raised? Absolutely, that happens. I know plenty of people that live there that are like that to this day.
Yeah.
When I was at MLW, the racism I would encounter on a cab drive from the airport is insane.
Yeah.
And I mean, not directed towards me, obviously, but. But
get in the cab, cracker.
None of that happened. But just the banter of the cab driver.
Yeah.
It was just it's more ignorance. That's the whole thing. That's my take. That's the word that encapsulates my take on Hogan's situation. I don't think he has hatred. I think he has very ignorant views on racial diversity.
Yeah.
I do, and it sucks. I hate saying that because I'm friends with his family and I'm friends with him, and I have a huge love for Hogan.
But he has said that. I don't think you have to apologize for
and
that.
I love Hogan.
I mean, he has said it had a lot to do with his upbringing and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I just at the end of the day, I get that they're being paid a lot of money to have Hulk Hogan at this event. So I get that. Obviously, in my mind, there's much more problematic things about this event than Hulk Hogan being there. But I don't know. And maybe this is like I don't want to say hope, but I do think it'd be the wrong decision to have this be his comeback and then act like nothing happened and just usher him back on WWE TV again. Like this is comeback. Okay, we didn't know. Because if you I don't think that if you do this at Saudi Arabia and then you trot him out somewhere else on Raw, he's gonna get booed out of the building.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll get booed out of the building.
You don't think he'll get booed?
I don't think it'll be like.
Well, they're booing.
They're booing Crown Jewel.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe not so much if he wasn't associated with that. I think he would have been cheered if they had brought him back without it.
Without Crown Jewel?
Yeah.
You think that he'd be cheered?
Yes.
Anywhere in the United States?
Yes.
His music hits, Hulk Hogan's getting fucking Hulk Hogan pop.
Yeah.
Same pop you would have gotten as if nothing had happened in that 3 years.
That's a hard question.
I think so.
The
wrestling fan base is forgiving, man. They cheered Ultimate Warrior.
I just think that
they cheered Ultimate Warrior, and he said way worse things.
And obviously, social media has become Twitter has become more and more negative on a daily basis. But I see the replies to the Wrestling Sheet account. Like I read them, and man, like you'd say that, but I think most of the people of color, like any minority, I would say 80% of minority wrestling fans are not okay with it, and I don't think you're just gonna get the same pop as if you walked in the door.
I'm curious. Like I don't think that you're gonna necessarily have any of that negativity from the Saudi Arabian audience.
No, I don't think so either.
Not at all.
Like cultural differences are vast in terms of diversity that they appreciate, they allow, that they encourage and stuff like that. Even going like, not to say that this is similar, but like I remember when The Force Awakens was coming out, and when I saw the Chinese poster for The Force Awakens, they had downsized John Boyega to like as if he was a minor character in the film. So other cultures have a totally different interpretation of skin colors, of cultural backgrounds, sexual backgrounds, things of that nature too. So I think that I don't know what the pop is going to be like in Saudi Arabia.
I think the pop in Saudi Arabia is going to be big. It's going to be big because, it was a long time ago on here, but I remember we had a whole conversation about how I felt like Hulk Hogan is one of 5 people who, when other countries think of America, they think of that person.
Especially in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah, so when they're getting a wrestling show, they get to see Hulk Hogan. I don't think there's going to be one boo in Saudi Arabia, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this, Ryan.
Yeah, listen.
If you were in the audience, would you boo him?
That's a good question. I think I would just be. I don't think I would pop. I don't think I would cheer hearing his music. I really don't think I would.
I wish I could stand next to you if that were to happen. Like,
but the way you're phrasing it is like if Ryan was in Saudi Arabia.
yeah. Hey.
Just Ryan dressed like that in Saudi Arabia.
Can you make it in time?
On one of those big plush couches in the crowd.
It's just like
You look good.
It's just grimacing.
Hey, you know, like, I feel like
couches.
you look pretty good in Saudi Arabian garb.
I feel like didn't some people like fall asleep in those couches?
Wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise
Like
me.
think about it. You get drunk all night, then you just
yeah.
those big comfy couches just lie down
Drinking
for a little
wine.
nap.
It does make
figs.
it, man. As much as I like the packed house, that shit looks so comfy. Like I would love to go to a show out here where we got those big ass couches ringside.
Hey, why aren't they bringing the Iron Sheik?
Because
Too problematic.
Why? Not there?
It's very true.
I ask
Yeah,
you
I
excellent question.
You don't want to trust Iron
And
Sheik
also,
in
what
Saudi
would they
Arabia,
do?
dude.
Wheelchair him out? He can't even walk anymore.
Get someone to come out of the crowd, swing the clubs.
He would be a prop essentially.
I don't think I could cheer for I don't think I could cheer for him until I heard him. I truly believe that
He
as
needs
much
to
as-
apologize more.
Yeah, that I think he needs to come out and like. Look, we've seen reports of his apology to the locker room, and
which didn't go over.
which did not go over well at all.
Well,
good
it
at
didn't
all.
go over well with a lot of people that they needed it
Yeah.
to go over well with.
Yes,
Like the people.
the people. Yeah.
What do you mean the people?
Yeah, you're right. But and I think that I just think that in order for Hulk to be accepted by the wrestling audience again, he has to come out to the wrestling audience and show everyone that he's a hero. Like if he wants to be the hero that is Hulk, that is the legend of Hulk Hogan, he has to show it.
Yeah.
And to me, I personally haven't seen one interview where I felt like it was sincere, where I felt like he was truly sincere. When it happened, to me, it felt like he saw his image being crumbling and his reputation going down the drain.
Yeah.
And he did all these interviews to try and fix it. But I've never once, in my opinion, felt like he truly looked apologetic. And then when he sued Gawker and won, he was like, "Oh, look at me, I'm Mr. Untouchable. Like I beat Gawker," and it was like he didn't see him. And it was I don't know because like the sex tape and the rant, even though they're connected, they weren't the same thing. They were two different things.
I agree with you on that. I definitely, I've like I said, I've been a lifelong Hulk Hogan fan, so I've seen that dude work in the crowd a lot. And sincerity is a difficult thing to digest out of the mouth of Hulk Hogan.
Totally.
Because of the fact that he's just been in so many scenarios and he's talked in so many scenarios, and not only that, but he's publicly. This isn't like the first controversy he's been a part of. There have been layers of controversies that he's been a part of over the years. I won't reference any specifically, but and even in those, I remember just thinking to myself, like, I know Hulk Hogan. I don't know him personally, but I know him well enough to understand. It's like, this could be real or this could be a work. I don't know.
There's a reason he's the best wrestler, the reason he's the most famous wrestler of all time. Well, one of the most famous wrestlers of all time, and that is because he's the best worker, one of the best workers ever, and he is good at working the audience.
And I mean, the dude knows how to sell Hulk Hogan. So like, it is one of those things where it's just like, I don't know. And so I love Hulk Hogan. I really would love it if there were an opportunity to where he could clear the air, to where people could appreciate him freely. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again, because I don't like, this isn't just something that you're like, okay, it's back to normal. You are back to normal with this attached to it.
I mean, but yeah, like a more public apology, not just to the audience, but to
and not Good Morning America, something more sincere.
I think he would need to do it in the ring.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Hulk Hogan came down to the ring and straight up gave a heartfelt apology to the fans, saying like, look, I was your hero. I told you to do this. I told you to follow me, and I let you all down. I am so sorry, and I'm gonna spend the rest of my life making it up to you because that's how much I care about you. I would 100% be like, cool, man.
Yeah.
I just think that all the apologies have been for public image, not because because I don't think he feels like he let people down.
There's a big difference. I remember, like wrestlers know how to work, like
an interview,
big time, especially one that's not in the wrestling industry. I remember whenever HBO had an interview with Jake the Snake, and this is after like he got sober and everything. It was Jake the Snake, DDP. I can't remember what the show is, Real Sports or something like that. And I remember Jake the Snake was talking to this interview, and this interview was a journalist. Like he was an older journalist who'd been around the block, had interviewed 1 billion people, and even he didn't know if he was getting worked by Jake the Snake. And so it's one of those things like, yeah, you can go talk to like, I was going to say Matt Lauer, but I guess he's not like a relevant person anymore. But you can go talk to Good Morning America. You can talk to the Today Show. You can talk to these people who are literally just doing surface level interviews for their career. They're not going to deep dive and ask tough questions. They're going to let Hulk Hogan be the Hulk Hogan that he wants to put out in the ether, and they're not going to question it because they don't know. They haven't been watching, 20 to 30 years of WWE, WCW, etc. So it is one of those things. I agree with you. I don't, and you as well. He's got to do it in the ring. And not only that, if it goes south, it goes south, and that's got to be accepted.
And you got to take it. You got to take it if that happens. That's how I feel about it, and that's why it's going to be so hard for me for him to be a running thread throughout Crown Jewel, because it's going to be like, really, we're doing this? Like, because he's not going to come out and apologize. What's he going to come out and apologize to the Saudi Arabian WWE? No, that's not who you need to apologize to right now. That's not who you've lost. Who's lost faith in you.
Yeah.
Okay, before we move topics here, well, we're still going to talk about Crown Jewel, but we mentioned this, and I'm still I pulled up both lyrics because I am wondering which. Okay, I'll read them real fast. Which of these is more problematic? You think for the American Made or Real American? We breezed past this, but. Okay, so Real American lyrics are, when it comes crashing down, it hurts inside. You gotta take a stand. It don't help to hide. If you hurt my friends, can you hurt my pride? I gotta be a man. I can't let it slide. I'm a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. Right?
Okay.
And then American Made is, he's American made. He's got the red, white, and blue running through his veins. He was born and raised in the U.S. of A.
I don't know.
He's got to be inspected. He's U.S. grade. If you mess with the flag, it's like a slap in his face. He's American made.
I don't know. They're not that problematic either.
I feel like Real American is less problematic.
Right? That's what I was thinking. Well,
Yeah.
When I just heard the name, I was thinking that American Made was going to be worse. But I think Real American's a little more safe.
Like, it only...
Like it's less aggressive.
Yes, it's much less aggressive.
There's only one America reference in the other one, and that's really the only thing patriotic about it. Everything else is about just like, hey, don't screw with me and my kind, or I'm going to take you down.
And then this amazing guitar riff.
Yeah. Rick Derringer.
Yeah, God bless Rick Derringer.
I hate American Made. I hate it so much.
It's not the best one. Out of if you rank all, it's definitely last in all of Hogan's theme songs.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know.
I
mean, the NWO theme is NWO theme not number one?
No, Real American's number one.
I mean, the NWO
what
theme is one of
room
the.
do you think you're in right now?
I don't know. I mean, the NWO theme is
Real
like
American.
classic.
Yeah, but
Of course,
not
it's definitely a
specifically
solid
his.
number 2.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know.
I'd go Voodoo Child for
yeah,
number 2.
I was like, I don't. That's more.
But that's not fair to pick that one because that's not like.
That's still.
Hey, he used
what?
it
You're
for
not going to
years.
count Cult of Personalities as CM Punk theme song?
Yeah, I guess you're right. You're right.
So I'd put American Made at the very bottom. I hate it.
It's definitely last.
I hate almost every song WCW ever put out that was a knockoff of any of the songs. The only ones I really like are the knockoffs of like Pearl Jam that they did for for Chris Jericho, and they did a knockoff of Smells Like Teen Spirit for DDP. It was like dee 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 dee.
Oh man, their knockoffs are so good.
They still.
And then
I
even
think
the-
that song
and-
is in 2K.
It is. Even
is,
the,
yeah.
Even the
And I love it. Yeah.
the off slightly off key. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's so good.
I love how WCW used to do that. And
They
get
did it
away
for
with
Jericho too, but what song was it?
It was a Pearl Jam
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
It was I can't remember what it was. Even Flow. It was Even Flow.
Oh yeah. And then ECW just did it.
ECW is just like, just use the real track. We're gonna get shut down tomorrow anyways. Use Enter Sandman because Sandman's entering.
I always I always like question when I'm watching like those indie pay-per-views and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're just like straight up using music that's licensed, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I was,
all of Joey Janela's Spring Breaks.
those are the ones I was
Hey,
watching. I
but
was
you know-
thinking that, and I go like, these are all
man,
licensed.
I don't
Hey,
mean to
but
blow
there's
up
a
Johnny's
difference.
spot.
I don't
but-
either.
I was reading an article about this recently. I can't remember. I think it was maybe an interview with Tommy Dreamer, and he explained how they were able to get away with it. And it had to do with the fact that it was audibly playing in the arena, but it wasn't being piped through.
That's true. They don't don't do that. It's not part of the soundtrack.
So if it's not, like if it's just playing it, like for instance, like when you're watching basketball on TV and you hear like a song in the background, that's not being piped through where the announcers are talking and stuff.
That's a very good point.
It's just auditory noise. No, well, I'm telling you, Tommy Dreamer himself said that's how he was able to get away with it.
He might believe that, but that's not true. That's not true.
It makes sense.
No, because like even YouTube, for example, like my videos get pulled from YouTube or get copyright flagged from YouTube if there's a wrestler walking into the ring and the entrance theme that plays, which is the exact same thing. And I get those. I got one the other day from Queen. A Queen song was an entrance wrestler's entrance, and they have this new option now where you can replace the music with YouTube's licensed music. So I tried it, but then they just replaced the first 2 minutes of the video with music all over it, so it wasn't just like in the background. It was the first 2 minutes of the YouTube video.
I mean, how did you think that was going to work? You think they were going to layer it?
Well, one, I just at least expected them.
It needs more compression.
Not the whole time. Like they literally just sort of, we just think it starts here. 2 minutes of the song. Yeah. It was rough. It was annoying.
Okay.
Well, it went over talking on the microphone.
I want to hear what the song was.
It was a Queen song. I don't remember what it was. Oh, you want to hear that one? I can play that. That I can do.
No, I want to hear what the song was. Yeah, that they replaced it with.
Hey, it's the DDP knockoff.
I don't know why the internet just went out for me. Wait, it's coming back now. Here, I can pull it up. This is the song right here. It was because it was just a video I put up the other day. So it was when Don Callis turned on Kenny Omega in Winnipeg.
Which, it was so funny to me seeing Kenny wear trunks again.
Well, because I think it was just like he wasn't trying to wear his real gear for that. Like, it was just like a random show. Like with his friends or whatever. Yeah, so this is it.
Oh, no.
Oh. That's the music that they put over it?
For the first 2 minutes of the video.
I mean,
it's not a horrible replacement.
It's kind of good. It's good. It works for hugs.
It works for hugs, yeah, except they start talking on the microphone here, and then the music still keeps going for another minute and a half.
Oh, well, still some work to do there.
Fucking YouTube.
Still some work.
We're getting there, man.
YouTube.com/C/wrestling sheet. There's the plug. Go watch our videos there so you can check out the video I was just referring to. So the other big thing related to Crown Jewel this week was the story we put up on the site.
Is people ain't going.
No, people are going. It's like sold out.
Sold out. No, I meant talent.
Oh yeah. Let's do that one first then. That wasn't the one I was talking about, but we should get that should go first. And what Jamie's talking about there is the fact that Daniel Bryan and John Cena both refused to wrestle at Crown Jewel, and this week they were written out of storylines basically.
John Cena's, actually not even his. Both very unceremoniously.
Yeah, very.
And I love that Daniel Bryan's was just like, okay, we're just gonna do it now.
And it didn't make any sense when Shane came out. Like that whole segment played real weird.
Shane was full of nonsense that night.
Yeah,
nonsensicals. I like that.
Like later on, is that another story? His whole thing about.
I was actually since we brought Shane up, I was actually just gonna bring that up. Yes.
Yeah, and then Shane went from there making that nonsensical statement to, let's fast forward to if any of you guys make it to the finals of the World Cup tournament. And you lose, you get fired. Or technically you don't have any spot on Smackdown anymore, which doesn't make any sense because now he's a heel, which I always thought he was a face. And
I don't think there is I have finally, as of I think this week, I have finally conceded in my care for heels and faces. There's no such thing as a heel and face in WWE anymore.
Yeah.
There really isn't. Like they're all heels and faces. Like they're all, it's weird. Like, but am I right in that? Like, it feels like like Shane, like you said, Shane, normally that would be taken in a heel manner. But I don't think anyone looks at Shane like it was like that was a heel thing that he did.
He'll probably get cheered next week.
Yeah, he'll get cheered next week, no problem, Becky Lynch doing all these heel things, it's cheered more than anybody.
Yeah, it's not even really so much heels and faces as it is more preference.
That's how it feels. Yeah, it seems like what they're trying to...
It's just what the vast majority likes or dislikes.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to condition wrestling fans into being like, no. There's no such thing as a bad guy or a good guy anymore. It's how you see it. How do you see it? That's what you cheer.
Because it's really rare that nowadays I'm backing up what you're saying, is it's really rare nowadays that the bad guys get booed and the good guys get cheered. It's mostly the I mean, yeah, some bad guys do get booed, but the vast majority of the good guys are getting booed.
Yes.
And that's
weird. And it's the Attitude Era was like that, but this isn't like the Attitude Era in that regard.
Well,
it's weird.
Let me ask you this then. So there have been recent reports lately, as you know, like what Fox is looking for with SmackDown. They're looking for more of a sports feel to it. If you're looking for more of a sports feel to it, they're probably hinging that based off of how. Not everybody, obviously, but a lot of how UFC works, where it is just a bit more sport. There's not, there are people who amp up the heelage in UFC, but in a lot of ways, it is kind of presented in that same way, where there's no good guys, bad guys.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just conditioning the audience towards that because they don't necessarily know what's going to happen once that deal goes into effect.
I don't think it has anything to do with Fox. To be honest with you, I thought that report didn't make any sense, in my opinion, because SmackDown is already the more sports-like show of the two.
The presentation's already really different, but I mean, the only thing they could really do is just gear it more towards the way New Japan does it. New Japan is the most...
But WWE will never do that.
No,
WWE's not going to be titles.
It's boring television.
Yeah.
It's boring. I mean, well, for Americans. Like, I mean...
it's just not it's not the pro wrestling
it's not boring television.
The general audience has come to learn
exactly.
and know.
Like a little Kevin, and I just imagine Kevin.
Spinner cap.
Yeah, just little baby Kevin with his beard still. But would probably not want to watch a New Japan press conference, or weigh in.
Well, I mean, I wonder that, to be honest with you, because I do think that...
Well, not after they've been trained after the WWE.
Agreed. But I do think that... I don't think that you can train someone to, quickly at least, to look at WWE in that light. But I do think that you could bring NXT to Fox Sports and treat it as such and it could rise to the levels of popularity of the main roster and stuff. But I also think that, like you said, the SmackDown is already kind of more of a serious show. It is more of a sports-like focused show.
Like, how do they find a middle ground then when there's events where they're both there? If one was so sports-like and the other one didn't have...
That's why that report made no sense to me, because it was like, there's no way Vince is going to make his roster that different. They do it every once in a while when there's a brand split. They try and do like little things to make them different, but they're never going to make one more sports than entertainment based. Yeah. That's what Vince doesn't like. That's wrestling to Vince. Yeah. To making it sports like.
Yeah. I mean, times have changed though too. They're really. I mean, wrestling as it used to exist doesn't exist anymore. Like there might be more wrestling today than there was 10 years ago. In terms of different opportunities, options of what to watch. But I think the era of wrestling is done. I don't think that exists anymore.
It's been done for a while.
So I would suggest that. And there's other people there. There's other factors involved. Back when Vince didn't want to do wrestling, he was the only one making decisions. Not that he's not the key decision maker, but there are other people that are involved with making the decisions there. In WWE, I would just suggest that all the other people that he has around him, you don't think that they have any influence whatsoever?
Influence, that's not having a say. Influence and having a say are very different.
He's still like...
Vince McMahon makes every single decision that company does.
He's still there. He's still there.
He's crazy. Because people always say, maybe... No,
it's still to this...
Vince, even for example, like the story we put up this week, everyone assumed that Triple H ran Evolution because it had a little bit different of a look to it. And then I started hitting me up. Everyone was like, no, Vince was running everything in the gorilla position. He was there doing the production meeting. He was doing everything.
I tell people this story all the time, and it was the scariest thing I'd ever seen when I was working there. And Stephanie and Triple H do this too, but they're much younger than Vince, so it's not. I mean, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as when a man of Vince McMahon's age does it. It was after a pay-per-view, and it went the takedown and the travel to the next city went long, and we didn't get there until like 2:30 in the morning, and it was a big, arduous pay-per-view. Yeah, and Vince is just, and there's this giant man just waiting in the lobby, and I had no idea who this person was. Just this giant man just like sitting there, like standing there, just waiting and looking at us, and I was like, what is this? And then Vince walks over to him, and it's Vince's trainer, and he's about to go work out at 3:00 in the morning. Wow. And he does. I was like, and I asked one of my coworkers. I was like, "Who is that guy?" And he told me, he's like, "Yeah, that's his trainer." And I said, he does this all the time." He says every show, and I was like, So when does he sleep? I was like, he's like 2 hours, for 2 hours, maybe 4 every night.
How can you operate like that?
When I hear stories like that,
Imagine
I get 5 hours of sleep, and that I feel like is like the minimum you can do.
And after a 12-hour work day.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine that. And when I do the 5 hours, and like after, I get 5 hours usually, and then by like if I'm like working hard.
Yeah.
No, it scared
after
me
a few
so
days,
much
that shit
because
rocks me.
it
Or
just,
a week or so.
It just frightened me because I was like, who is this person?
insane.
Maybe he just gets a lot out of that little increment because like giraffes and dolphins don't sleep that much, and they're all mammals too.
How little do they don't sleep that much, really?
Yeah, no, look it up.
No, I believe you.
Giraffes
I disagree.
Giraffes
I'm
get
asking.
like little blips of 15 minutes here and there.
Really?
Yeah, and dolphins, because dolphins have to breatve.
Yeah.
Because they're mammals,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like they can't just be underwater sleeping, so they get very little sleep too.
I don't know if it's making me sound stupid, but don't most underwater animals
Well,
water
dolphins
animals
don't breathe
not?
underwater.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
So
they have
that's
to,
why
they
they have
surface
upper
air.
air.
Yeah, like seals.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
like whales have the benefit of being so damn big that nothing's going after a whale. For the most part, this is a great white shark.
Oh, but because like a dolphin could technically get killed.
Exactly. So and they're migratory creatures as well. And by the way, you have joined Animal Matters with Ryan James.
No, I just never thought of it. So I'm sorry if I bored you. I just never thought of that.
No, but so back to Vince McMahon. I don't know that every human needs as much sleep as we do. Maybe he's a mammal. Maybe he's got giraffe blood in him. I don't know.
He got some sort of blood in him, that's for sure.
It's weird that giraffes can't sleep for long periods.
Well,
of time.
it's because like they're
worried
so long.
also
Well,
about-
it's not just that. It's like
They're worried about predators as well.
They are. That's the key reason. Because if they were to lay their head down and everything, because like they would be in such a vulnerable position that they wouldn't be able to escape or get away if they were to get
Never thought
attacked.
about that. I'm not a big animal guy.
I was writing some trivia about giraffes this week.
Well, yeah,
at work,
your girlfriend is.
No, I am dog person, but
I'm
like
saying, no.
animals.
She likes certain kind of animals.
Me?
Dead ones.
Oh,
taxidermy.
she's a big taxidermist. Yes. We breezed past Shane McMahon, but I wanted to bring this up. Did you guys see my tweet before you came here?
No.
We don't care.
No, you guys. This one, I was like, wow, the irony in this is so crazy. So, Shane tweeted earlier today.
Wow.
And it was
Did it start with wow?
No.
Like his evolution tweet?
No. It was.
I knew I wasn't going to die in the crash.
It was.
I was meant to see this.
It was an advertisement for his wife Marissa's movie apparently that she produced.
I did see that.
You did
had
see
to
that?
be more specific.
Go
You tweet
on.
quite a bit.
I do tweet quite a bit. Well, not Shane though, so I thought maybe
Go on.
And it's a movie that Marissa produced, and
His wife.
This is what the tweet says. Incredibly proud of my wife Marissa for producing her amazing film, A Private War, based on a true story of war journalist Marie Colvin. It opens this weekend in New York, and I looked it up.
And she's got
Marie
an eye
Colvin
patch.
she does have an eye patch, well, she's dead, but she was a journalist who was killed by a government that didn't like her reporting.
You can't write this, man.
And it opens. This movie opens the same weekend as Crown Jewel.
Wow.
You can't write this, man.
Isn't that insanely ironic?
Yeah, it is.
I was just like, when I saw that today, I was
I love
like,
timing so much.
right, me too. Like, this is one of those things where I was like,
Well, 'cause
that
you know
is
that
the most
movie's
insane.
that movie's probably been in production for a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, timing is a B whenever it works against you, but when it works against other people, I'm like, your tragedy is my comedy, and I'm going to lap up every bit of this milk.
I gotta say, this is, for me, this is one of.
James?
This has to be the most controversial pay-per-view that's ever been.
No question. No question.
At
There's
least,
never been murder involved. What are you talking about?
At least, like, well, I was gonna say that like there are others that maybe like I think that the Owen Hart thing gets on the level because they continued on with the pay-per-view afterwards.
That's a very accurate point.
But this is different. It's in a different way because this is like they're heading into something that they know is bad. You know, so it's like the Owen Hart thing was a tragedy, and the continue on was like people in a shitty situation trying to figure out what the fuck to do.
And they made a bad call.
And they made a very bad call. This one is like a thing that could be avoided, and they're just driving straight towards it, you know? And that's what's so weird to me about it.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, they've got a thick callus for controversy.
I just, you know, you always think like, oh, maybe the viewer count will be different. But then we're a very forgiving audience.
Yeah. No, it's just like, is what I said a couple of weeks ago, where it's just like, is the controversy and the negative criticism going to be like, is it more cost effective to keep the show going, take that flack, than to cancel the show and take that financial hit that's going to happen?
Do you really think the viewer count is going to be down that much?
I don't think they care. No. I don't think they care if the viewer count is down. It's not being done for us. This pay-per-view is not being done for pay-per-view buys. This pay-per-view is being done for the Saudi Arabian government, and they're fulfilling everything they need to do.
Yep. Well, let me ask you this. There's a couple pay-per-views that have never been released that are not on the WWE Network. One of them is, I can't remember what it was called, When Worlds Collide or something like that. One of those WCW
North Korea one?
Where they went to North Korea. North Korea obviously has a pretty negative reputation and has for many decades now. Do you think that any wrestling fan would look at that and be like, no, I'm not watching it because North Korea, did these negative things? In time, nobody's going to look back at this, unfortunately, and be like, oh, that was the pay-per-view, where such and such happened.
I wonder that because you say that, but it's not on the WWE Network. So there is a thing where you look back on it and they don't want people to talk about it.
You can't see it.
I don't know if it's legally allowed. I don't know if they have licensing rights to. I don't know what the legality is because there's 5 or 6. I think we looked at an article a couple of years ago about this. So I don't know about that. But I will say that if it was on there, I guarantee you that anybody who's going up and consuming all the content on the old stuff on the WWE Network would damn sure watch that.
I feel like, and I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like this event in 10 years will be looked at like the Chris Benoit tribute episode.
I don't think so. I disagree with you. Let me just say that. I think that is so much more ingrained in our culture because it's a wrestler who committed like a horrible act, and then and then there was a
litany. They dedicated 2 hours to celebrate the guy.
Both negative incidents. I don't want to like say that one's better than the other or something like that. The Chris Benoit one was about
this is a touchy episode, man.
Yeah,
ours.
Yeah,
hey, it's fucking crazy topic, Crown Jewel, man.
Controversy creates cash.
News.
We normally talk about like fucking,
bring me pictures of Spider-Man.
I would
talk much less important topics normally, and this is something that I think is interesting.
I think that there will be an asterisk next to it. I don't think it's nearly the level of that Chris Benoit tribute episode because that was pretty much like, that was like probably I would say outside of not making Owen Hart, latch the blue blazer equipment rappelling down from the rafters. I'd say that Chris Benoit tribute episode is probably
the darkest day in wrestling.
I would say that's one of the top 5 biggest. I wish we could go back and change that moments that the WWE's ever had.
The
Owen
Hart death is the darkest day.
I would say that's number 1 on the list, but I'd say that Chris Benoit tribute episode is probably number 2 on the list of things they wish they could take back and do differently.
I think Chris Benoit is number 1. Totally. The Owen Hart thing. They had to do it. They were on pay-per-view. They would have lost out on so much money.
It was a different.
They would have had to pay everybody back.
There was
they would have been. And I get that it was bad what they did, but to me, the Chris Benoit thing is like they went and did this tribute having no idea the circumstances of this death.
There was no wait time.
Dead child and a dead wife. Like they should have waited a little bit of time. They could have avoided that.
The other bigger difference between those two events, too, obviously they're different occurrences, but. The Chris Benoit tragedy, or whatever you want to refer to that as, the Chris Benoit incident.
Murder.
The murder-suicide.
The time Chris Benoit murdered his family.
Exactly, yeah. When Chris Benoit murdered his family, also occurred at an era where social media existed, too. So, like, there was no social...
you said it did exist.
Yes, there was no social media at the time of Over the Edge in 1990.
There wasn't social media at the time of Chris Benoit.
There absolutely was
MySpace
and Facebook at the time of Chris Benoit. It was 2007, bro.
Yeah, come on.
That's 2007?
Yeah, it was.
All right.
So like,
but it wasn't to the same.
It wasn't.
When you say social media,
no.
Facebook was
not.
What I'm saying though, Facebook was not being used like it is now.
What I'm saying though is that people had all had cell phones at that period. People had social media. Information was flowing much more freely at the time of Chris Benoit than it was at the time of Owen Hart.
That's a fact.
Case in point.
That's not. No, because MySpace was not sharing.
But
social media
Ryan, the internet was different. Video could be streamed in 2007, and in 1999, like the internet was still creeping along.
The internet was around 1999 too. The AOL
but let me say this though: the biggest difference is that
the day after and info, the day after,
general, not just
the
day
social
after
media.
Chris Benoit, or the day after Owen Hart died. I wanted to find information. And you know how hard it was to find information? Almost impossible. I was flying that day. And I remember seeing one picture in like USA Today of Owen Hart, you know, kind of lifeless in the ring. And honest to God, beyond that, there wasn't a lot. When Chris Benoit, when that happened, though, you had every single media outlet in the world was all over it. You know, you had wrestlers coming out of the woodwork, appearing on different talk shows. You had, you know, Jacques Rougeau showing up, flexing his muscles like that mattered whatsoever.
Well, they were different circumstances.
Exactly. I can't even remember where we're arguing.
Yeah,
right
I'm just
now.
saying. So, when you say social media in 2007,
It existed,
but I mean, so
and it
did,
didn't in 1999.
But there were message boards, there were AOL chat rooms, there were all that kind of stuff. It's the same exact thing.
Wrestling was in two different periods at those times, though, too. So, like, I mean, like, I feel like the period of communication was totally different. We can disagree on it, though.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the other big story that I didn't get to is that Renee Young is going to be announcing tomorrow at Crown Jewel.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't actually.
We broke that story on the site.
It's been a busy week.
I'm not angry at you for it. I was just saying that, we broke it on the site this week. That
A very interesting turn of events.
and obviously, look, I'm aware that there are female broadcasters in Saudi Arabia. The reason I said it was a big deal is because of the fact that the last show, women weren't allowed to work. This
At
show,
all.
there's a woman that's allowed to work. So
Yeah.
I saw people like, oh, it's not the first. It's not that big of a deal. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal that WWE worked to make this happen. You know, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure Stephanie McMahon didn't even work at Greatest Royal Rumble because they didn't want women working at the event. So it is a big deal.
That's crazy to me.
Like, she just can't come.
Yeah. It's like, really? She's one of the bosses.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear.
Maybe she's that big of a heel that even the Saudi prince is like, no.
Yeah. I hate her.
I don't want her to come.
It's not what's best for
She
business.
can't come to our big dinner that we had.
She's a B+ player.
That dirty, disgusting trash bag or whatever Jericho used to call her.
They just went. They would go in on her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As soon
really
as she got a
did.
boob job, people went just nuts on her.
Trash bag hoe.
They
That
brought
was it, yeah,
they
trash
brought
bag
it up
hoe.
every episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He would name off like 6 or 7 things before he
The
got
Rock
to the trash
and
bag.
Jericho just would take turns.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
I was listening this week to the Something to Wrestle where they talked about the Tess Stephanie wedding. And
That was a fun episode.
It was, right?
Yeah.
I learned a lot of things that I wasn't expecting to learn in that episode.
That is one common misconception that people always make, that that China was still dating Hunter when that whole angle started, and that's how they started dating each other, is because they were around each other so long. That was my comment.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was the other way around. I thought they had broken up and then he met Stephanie.
Yeah,
Because on TV they had stopped rolling with each other.
Well, it was interesting to hear Bruce talk about just like how that, because you always heard China's side of the story,
Yes.
because she was so open about it,
Yes.
and so angry about it. I found that really interesting when Bruce talked about the demands that she made to WWE when all that happened, and how
Yeah.
they were like, no, we're not going to pay you $2 million a year now because Triple H is hooking up with Stephanie.
Yeah.
I had never heard that part. I was like, it's interesting, because normally it's like you hear the opposite. You've heard the opposite side so long.
Yeah, you hear the scorn.
Yeah, you hear the scorn path, exactly. So it was interesting. Okay, so Renee Young, though, I thought it was really cool of them. I mean, the fact, look, as someone who has been criticizing every facet of this event, I'm gonna say a positive thing too when I see it, and at least considering that the WWE rhetoric has been, we hope to be part of change. This did kind of play to that a little bit.
Yeah, and they will use that.
They're gonna drive it to death.
How
I
many
know.
times do we need to hear them reference the Abu Dhabi? This is change or
So
whatever.
many times.
They're gonna post pictures of it all over. Like Renee Young.
Is Renee Young going to be required to wear or be adorned in a certain type of cultural garb?
I tried to find out, and I couldn't get a firm answer. I think that I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
I would imagine she has. From what I've heard, it sounds from what I've surmised. I don't know this 100%. It seems to me like she's going to be covered, but not like her face covered.
Yeah,
just like
I'm
her.
curious just about the headwear, because there's multiple styles, obviously.
There's where you only see the eyes,
Yeah.
and then you can see the face.
Yeah.
Isn't there just two of them?
I think it's just those two.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, It's not going to be the eye thing.
Okay.
It's going to be the face thing.
Yeah.
That like she's gonna covered head to toe.
Interesting. That'll be like
They're gonna trick us. It's not gonna be her.
it's Renee Dupree.
I saw that report and I wasn't able to confirm it that WWE was thinking of doing Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles on a green screen. Did you guys see this? That there was talk apparently when Daniel didn't want to do the match. Yeah, this is what Meltzer reported, and I saw a few other people talking about it as well. I have not been able to double confirm this, but I wouldn't put it past them that in the tech room they were gonna have there's like a room where you can kind of like they could green screen behind a ring basically, and they were gonna like try to green screen to make it look like they were wrestling in Saudi Arabia via green screen.
I wish that they had done that just so we could see, just so we can find out.
There's no way. That sounds like bullshit.
Yeah,
that's what.
You know what though?
I didn't report that,
sorry,
so
that sounds like bullshit.
I love when stuff like that happens though. I remember when we were watching SummerSlam, I think it was last year, when Brock like really punched Braun Strowman in the head.
That was one of my favorite
And I remember
moments
me and
ever.
you were kind of watching it, and we were both just like, "Hey, he really just hit him.
He really punched him in the face."
I love having moments like that in wrestling. We're like, "Hey, are they in front of a green screen?" I wish that moment could have happened.
Yeah, no, I also was hoping that
would have been like
because imagine totally, and imagine if they had pulled it off and then we all figured out that they did that just so you wouldn't know Daniel Bryan had refused to work the event. Oh my God, that would have been crazy.
And I would love it even more if they just never answered a single question about it, never said yes or no, and just left it, kept going. They just have Buzz Aldrin come out and punch somebody who asked about it in the face.
Like a kid, like right quick, the green screen changes to like a cat. They're like wrestling on top of a cat.
General Grievous in the background.
Lightsabers.
Like, what kind of event is this? Saudi Arabia's magical.
Just pterodactyl.
I didn't know Saudi Arabia was Utapau.
There's no way that's true.
I believe it. I believe it.
There's no way.
I think that I believe there was a discussion about it.
Me too. I don't believe that it got past the discussion phase, but
what technology is that? I've never heard of that.
Green screen technology.
Well, yeah, but okay.
What do you mean?
Well, then they would splice in audience reactions.
Yeah. So wait, are they gonna like have a fake, like a couple fake rows of fans then? Because like
are they gonna do it like Lord of the Rings and just multiply them by like 100,000?
This.
I'm trying to pull up what it said in the. It said,
they're wrestling in front of Minas Tirith. I don't know what happened
So
here.
it said, okay, this is what it said in the Observer, I believe. It said at one point the match was to be taped ahead of time and inserted into the show. At another point, there was talk of doing it live. The ring at the Technology Center is filmed in a way.
They would have to get everybody there to be in on it.
The ring at the Technology Center is filmed in a way to look like it's in whatever building they need it to be in, similar to a green screen. The idea is if they did it live, they can make it appear to be taking place in Saudi Arabia, or it could just be an empty arena match. The plan was not to air it before the people in Saudi Arabia, but for those watching on the WWE Network. The problem is that would have caused even more controversy after the fact.
Yeah, no shit, because everybody in the crowd would have to have been in on it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, everybody who talked to, act like the match happened here, or else.
No.
Or else.
So bad. Oh man, fucking
That
Eli.
doesn't make any sense, Ryan.
I didn't report this. I'm just saying what Meltzer said.
Hey, can I just tell you guys something? This is kind of non-wrestling related. There's a Norm Peterson action figure on the wall that I have not been able to take my eyes off the entire show. And my favorite part of it is that it says on the bottom left corner, 14-point articulation. It's like, who needs that? Like,
He just sits down.
he sits on a bar stool.
Yeah, why would you need that much articulation?
Why is he grasping his
He kind of looks like Will Ferrell. Anyway, sorry about it.
No, it's okay. Lastly, we'll just touch on this real fast. Two things. Well, one, Jamie, I know you want to talk about this last week, but I don't know if you're too sleepy and hungover this week.
No, I got it in me.
Yeah, so we didn't get to the show last week, but I know that Jamie, obviously this is something that you have. The Roman Reigns thing kind of touches a little more close to home to you. You want to talk about how you felt while watching all this?
Okay. What you were alluding to. So many years ago, it's a little over 10 now. Actually, it isn't. It is 11, which is what I remember talking about recently to another friend. Is 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, which the variation of cancer was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That has multiple variations, different types, affect different ways, different people. I was very lucky to catch it very easy. The treatment took me out of school for a while. I got it when I was in college. It was a scary time nonetheless. I got radiation, a few surgical procedures. Lucky enough, I was originally diagnosed that I would have to get chemotherapy. Luckily, that was not the case.
How long were you on radiation for?
For about 6 months. Which drains your energy completely, and you lose weight. It's nowhere near the extent of chemo. There's no open incision. There's no hair loss. There's no, thank God.
Radiation's still no joke.
Yeah, it's not fun. But anyway. So I'm luckily that's not the case anymore. I've been in remission for like 11 years, and still to this day, I try to eat much healthier. I work out consistently. I check my vitals all the time. But going to Roman's case, it also was Roman's situation kind of took me aback. It's not specifically because it was somebody that I look at on TV on a regular basis, but because it was also not too that different from when Paul Allen died of the same cancer that I had, which is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And when you see Roman Reigns, you think he's a healthy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so interesting to me that somebody at the extremes of both things of society that you would think would prevent them from such things happening. Yeah. So Paul Allen, one of the richest men in the world, the co-founder of Microsoft, you'd think that he would have every sort of oncologist on deck just working around the clock.
Totally.
Roman Reigns, not that extreme, but superior, rich dude, superior, but I mean in the sense of health.
Yeah.
Superior athlete, takes care of himself, eats right all the time, has to keep himself in tip-top shape. It's so surreal. It was so surreal seeing Roman in a state that I think this is why, and I wanted to talk about it because I think this is why it affected Roman's case has affected people in a way that tragedy in wrestling hasn't affected, and I don't even know if tragedy is the correct word to use for the situation because of course he
could fight it off.
Yes, of course, and but I think that's why is because Roman was such an extreme of health.
Absolutely. It's like a young, healthy.
I mean, like if it had happened to, I don't know, like in their primes. I mean, Randy Orton even because we know he chain smokes. It's like I have a tumor in my lungs. It's like no shit. But with somebody like Roman, it's somebody who there's so much emotion already invested in him. And when such an emotional moment happens, it's, they always call him the most polarizing figure in wrestling, and polarizing in a sense, he is that in the most extreme of the word, because they are either vehemently booing him or cheering him, and in a way that I don't think they ever booed Cena the way they do Roman, or even cheer him the way they do Roman, And I think, when you throw in something like that, that's so, young people don't get sick. Yeah. And when that happened, it's such a shock, and you don't know. It's like if God can be not, and obviously I'm not saying God like a religious. It's more like a Greek God, like a mythological God. Yeah. When if Hercules can get beat, then that humbles not only him, but it humbles you. Yeah. And it's a tough situation that he's in, and the courage to do it. That's why I think when Michael Cole said that was one of the most courageous things that people have seen ever in the ring, and it's true. It's 150% true, because you really got to look your fans in the eye and say, I don't know if it's going to be okay. Yeah. I haven't a clue.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I think it was because, I talked on the recap show about how, it's not even comparable to when someone announces that they're retiring due to injury or something like that, because
nowhere near.
They're not going to die from that stuff.
No,
this is something that he's not necessarily going to die from, but could. And it's like, shit, man, when you get like real life scenarios like that,
it's super scary.
It's scary. Yeah. It's
like, you guys were all talking about it before you announced it and everything like that, like, our text thread. And so I knew what was coming whenever, but like to see somebody come out and have to say that the way he did and everything, I was just like, it wasn't even like a moment of like, I know it was sad for sure, but I was scared. I was just really, really scared.
It is. It's because you don't. It's the only when people retire, people pass in wrestling. It's because of either the way they lived, and sometimes it's expected, or even when they pass because of age. It's just like it's their time to go.
Yeah.
This one is a toss-up, and that's the scariest thing in the world. It's because, he beat it once, and I hope he beats it again. But it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee in any situation, and it's knowing that we are. I think what's even more scary is that we're not going to be along for this.
Yeah.
Like whatever happens is going to happen behind closed doors, and we're not going to we may see him in 6 months and he looks just like Roman Reigns, just ready to rock. We may see him in 6 months and he doesn't look like Roman Reigns anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's horrifying to think about.
I do, because you mentioned the courageous part of it. I know it's not necessarily easy for someone who's going through that, and I've never been personally going through that, but I do hope that he's comfortable enough to be able to share it publicly and not necessarily keep it private, because I do think that if someone of his level making it a public thing maybe does help others, I think.
Yeah, and he did make that statement. He said that the reason he said it was to raise awareness. It's just the reason why I assume that he would keep it private is because he's already a very private guy.
Totally. He's like the most private guy.
Yeah, we don't know much about Roman's family. The only time we ever see them is when they do those WrestleMania specials.
Yeah.
And and that's good, to an extent.
Yeah.
And,
I was gonna say, I really hope that that he is able to fight it off, because
of course,
fuck, man, it's
such
a
that was a shock.
situation.
That was one of the biggest wrestling shocks that I've ever experienced before.
I feel like this is gonna be this is like the most newsworthy month in wrestling in a long time.
Yeah.
There's some crazy shit going on in wrestling right now.
But I would like to finish it with some fun though. I would like to finish it with discussing the Dean Ambrose turn, because we haven't really talked about it. I mean,
we only got a cut. We did on the recap. That's the recap.
Okay,
before.
Then
but go for it.
I mean,
we got to get out of here soon though. For the
okay, I'm just saying the reason why I wanted to bring it, because I thought it was fun. But I know we're not going to talk about it that specific night. But I just think that it's really interesting how they're going about it, because we didn't get an explanation last week. I mean, this week.
You mean this week?
This week, yeah, we didn't. I wanted to. Did you? I mean,
I think that's why I'm reserved. It's funny that I said the same thing on the Raw recap. Is that like I'm almost reserving judgment at this point, because he didn't say anything. Like, I want to see where it's going to go. I don't want to say I didn't like it necessarily, because nothing really happened like this week on Raw. It was kind of, for the most part, like a pinpoint. like you know what I mean? Like, they didn't even really announce what's going on with tag titles.
Yeah.
They didn't really do anything. They just had Dean kind of standing there mugging.
yeah. And so maybe have they written themselves into a corner? Maybe.
I've heard that the writing team wanted to make it a little more complex, the story, and that Vince is like, no, we're gonna do it like we've always done it. So who knows how it's actually gonna end?
Oh shit!
What?
I forgot it's 6 o'clock and I have a sale going on right now.
I was like getting all these
I thought
alerts.
I thought we would have been finished by now.
I was getting alerts while we were in the show. And I was thinking to myself, I didn't expect them to do one of these during our show. Like, I figured Jamie would have to be there when they do them.
Yeah.
Guess not. This is actually the Gary V's though one, right? This is the one that I wanted these shoes. Okay, Jamie, where can people find you on the internet?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at JAMIE_IOVINE, or on Instagram at JAMIEIOVINE, and follow Network, my shopping network on well, it's not really a shopping network. It's a new way of purchasing exclusive items you can't get anywhere else, curated by a lot of leading dope people in the world of today, I guess.
like how Jamie definitely has had a meeting where he's been told not to call it a shopping network, and so he had to like totally change what he said.
I hate reporting to a board. I hate it. But yeah, follow on the network. It's Network Live. That's NTWRK Live, and it's. Yeah, follow. We got some good stuff.
No, there's been cool stuff on there. The Freddy versus Jason stuff that you guys had this week was dope.
We had Gary V drop by. Gary Vaynerchuk came by. Is doing it actually right now as we're recording this. Doing a drop with K Swiss, Wu-Tang Clan, not the whole Wu-Tang Clan. We're on there with Charlemagne doing a dope drop as well. You know, a lot of dope people are coming in.
Yeah, and since I don't have to deal with a board, basically all it is, it's an app. You download the app, you watch when they have live drops, and you can just purchase the thing they're dropping.
In the app, it doesn't take you anywhere else.
Yeah, you just boom, push a button, you own it, and you got exclusive shit. Eli, where can we find you at?
On Twitter at Elijah Bates. On Instagram at Brindlebeard.
Should I do like the opposite way? Does it feel weird when I do?
I kind of like it. But I'm just gonna do it like this: Twitter at Elijah Bates, Instagram at Brindlebeard,
and Disneyland sometimes.
Yeah, and occasionally at D-Land.
And you can find me at Ryan Satin. The website's ProWrestlingSheet.com, at Wrestling Sheet on social media. If you are listening to the audio of this, go check out the video as well. You can see our faces. You can see our reactions.
I shaved.
You did. It looks good. I meant to say something.
Thanks.
I meant to say something. It's much more thinned down.
Yeah, I was laying face down on a massage table this past week, and I had half of my mustache in my mouth, and I couldn't get it out. And I was like, "Hey, your mustache is huge. Get rid of it."
That is when you finally have to pull the trigger on something like that.
It was a great mustache, though.
It was. Your beard is cool, but your mustache was rotten.
I know. It'll be back. It'll be back again one day, like Frosty the Snowman.
And if you want to see it, go to youtube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. That's where the shows are at. That's where the recaps are at. News hits, all sorts of fun stuff on there. If you're already watching on the YouTube videos, hello, hi, I see you. No, I don't see you, but you can see me. Please subscribe while you're here. It helps out a lot. Share the videos, leave comments, all that sort of fun stuff. It really does help us out a lot. But also, go check out the audio feed. It's on Podcast One, Wrestling Sheet Radio. I apologize that our secondary shows have not gone up the past. There's been a little bit of issues the past couple weeks. Top 5 with James and Kevin. They still went up, but I believe those shows are going to start to go out on the weekend now. So because of that, there was some technical changes, and so I think the next episode is going to come out this weekend. I know that there wasn't one, I think, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. There's been a little bit of issues with that scheduling, but I believe that's going to move to weekends now. I'll let you guys know all the details on that very soon. And best of the rest with Aaron Turner. Unfortunately, Aaron's been dealing with a loss in his family, so I told him to take all the time he needed to deal with it. So I believe that show will be back as soon as he's able to as soon as he's feeling up to it again. So please go send some love Aaron Turner's way if you guys listen to that show. He could definitely use it right now. Okay, that's it. We're done. Officially tapping out for now. Until next time, stay out of the dirt. Keep your eye on the sheet.